with North Korea? Are the oceans gonna rise so much that we don't get to enjoy it? Like, what is there gonna be a world cataclysm? Because it's just like, can the world be at peace and stay stable so we can enjoy Borderlands 3? Yo, Endless King, what up, buddy? Thanks for being here. It's a betrayal for real gamers. Real gamers want great games. They're not gonna fucking sit there and spit in the eye of somebody who's down all the time. They're gonna say, you know, Anthem has great potential. Maybe it'll fix it. 76 has great potential. Maybe they'll fix it. And not constantly shit on these games. Like, Randy's pissed. Well, Randy, now you fucking get it, man. That's why people like myself are always like goddamn fake biased news, because that's what they do. They don't report facts. They do some clickbaity shit, and they reduce things down to a certain narrative. And it's so difficult anymore to get truly objective facts on any matter. And of course, it's only tenfold in the gaming press. Not much. How about you? I'm better than good. I'm better than most. We're continuing to work on our 100 playthrough. We got 5 playthroughs left in this game. We're talking about kind of reducing Lilith and Roland's playthrough down to the bare essentials. But this guy, we're gonna work on maxing out. Not necessarily from a gear perspective, but power perspective, so it can farm for us to help our brick out. Because next Sunday, we're kind of on a deadline. Next Sunday, we're gonna do the big tournament. That should be the grand finale of this whole playthrough. And then we're under Red Dead. Yeah. So if you're still here, Justin, that'd be my only but. That'd be my only but. Otherwise, I am not worried in the least. I think they haven't even begun to show it off. I think the Sanctuary Hub looks fantastic. The amount of
corporate raiders.
Customization on everything. Everything. I mean, the vehicle, you could change different parts of it. You could change the material. You could literally do the javelin thing with your car alone. I think that Bungie shit their britches, and they should, especially since they're going to Guardian Con. Which, they didn't even know the Guardian Con does charity, which is another way that Bungie shit on their community, because they had fantastic content creators doing a good thing for that game all the time. Because they're like, oh, I guess there's a charity element. They're just there to be like, oh, by the way, Bungie. And, again, this is like the biggest fucking thing. For me personally, this is the biggest thing, because I'm not a big DRM fan. Or Digital Management Distribution Right thing. DMR. Digital Management. I think it's DRM. Digital Rights Management. Yeah, Digital Rights Management. Anyway. Okay, you can do procedural loot. Classic Borderlands are calling it. Or you can do the procedure. Oh, god dang it. Instance loot. Instance loot. So only Justin gets his drop. Which you guys knew about that already. That's kind of old news. But still, you can turn it on and off. And then the big thing we learned is they're doing the level scaling different. So I go into your world, you're like level 70, Justin or Wilson or Adam, whoever. I can be level 70, and vice versa. You can come down to my level, but you can turn it off. On a dime, you can turn it off. Now, imagine Destiny ever doing that, allowing those kinds of options. You can go between classic Borderlands, and you can turn either one off from the way it sounded. Just so much like individual agency over the product. You can play offline. You can play split screen. Like we talked about last night when we were farming those loot chests. Like, oh, okay, if this was an EA game, this would have cost us, you know, $75,000. Each one of those chests would have cost us 99 cents a dollar in microtransaction currency. In Borderlands, you just save and quit. Because it's fucking a video game, you know? That's the great thing about Borderlands. It just doesn't take itself that seriously. It understands it's a damn game. What are you losing by giving a gamer or a player ownership over the software? You're only going to lose out in the end. Because people will stop buying it. They will eventually stop buying it because it doesn't clothe you. You can't eat it. You can't drink it. It doesn't take care of you when you're sick. So this bullshit that they've been pulling where, you know, the game is online only. You gotta play it on a server. You're limited to daily caps, weekly caps, hard lockouts. You only have so many characters. You can only do so much. You can only open this chest every Tuesday on a full moon. Limiting your progress, limiting the way you can play the game, giving you no individual ownership over your software, is eventually, if they keep going down the path, going to ruin the whole thing. I really believe that. It's going to ruin the whole thing. It'll crash again. It's not too big to fail. Not yet. And I think it'll ruin it. But, you know, thankfully we got companies like Gearbox saying it doesn't have to be that way and at least pushing back against it. You know, Destiny is an amazing game if it wasn't for that bullshit. If it got out of its own fucking way, Destiny's an amazing game. Trying to be here. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. Well, I guess I'm just ranting for everybody. I'm ranting for myself at this point, but it'll be uploaded. You know, we do these episodes on YouTube. Sounds fun. Sweet, King. Glad to hear it, buddy. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I think you're right to be hyped. I'm going to stay chill. I'm going to stay chill because I think people exhaust themselves on hype. And you end up kind of creating a game in your own head. It's sort of your ideal game. I think that ruined Fortnite for a lot of people that I watched in those early days. Is we all kind of had our own idea of what Fortnite was going to be. We all sort of imagined it was going to be our ideal horde game. But it wasn't that for anybody. It was Fortnite. Which had all of the failures I'm talking about of a live service game. Including literal mobile game mechanics. Gating of XP. Daily caps on XP. Power bonuses. You can only, you know, fucking start losing how much progress you're making for every hour you play. So you better go ahead and log off. Look, I'm full grown. I'm full grown. If we want to play the game all day, we fucking bought it. Fortnite's case, paid $250 for it. We can play it all motherfucking day. I don't need you to be my goddamn grandpappy and tell me how to play a fucking video games. That was like, to me, Ali, thanks for being here. I really appreciate the lurk. Check your hours. You're probably getting your song requests. Shigeru Miyamoto is coming over to revoke my ocarina. I'm legit startled. I'll quote that, will so. But, you know, video games were my escape in a large part in high school. Because I thought high school was kind of like a little prison. You know, I was a wrestler and shit, so everything's really disciplined. Everything's really hyper, like, you know, on a time scale. But games, especially games like Borderlands, were never like that. They were... You do your own thing. You set the pace. You define what you're going to do. You go where you're going to go. That's why I loved Morrowind so much. That's why it's my favorite game. It was freedom. Look, it says you have to be 18 to buy cigarettes. 18, but they don't know better. That's good. Aren't they going to make a Calvin and Hobbes movie? So when, like, Fortnite was like, well, you know, you've done 5 missions today, so you're actually out of daily bonuses, and you've already capped out your daily XP bonus, so now you're going to have to very, very slowly but surely bang your head against the wall if you want to make any kind of progress. So that means you're going to spend 4 times the amount of time you would spend if you just logged in every day. What's that sound like? And another way they do it, too, is they used to have the research point. Now they don't. They got rid of it. That game's made a lot of progress, actually. When it first came out, it had research points. So even if you really pushed, and did all that tedious grinding that you knew mathematically you were just doing it the hardest way possible, didn't matter. You still didn't have the power because you hadn't logged on every day. So therefore you lacked the research points, which would go into your skill power, so your overall power level was still limited. The way they did that was they simply took one thing, power level, okay? And then they funneled it to stretch it out into 4 different ways. The survivor tree, which relied on RNG. Your overall character level to gain XP points, which had an exponential scale to it. But you could only ever go so far in the tree based upon your progress in the story thus far and your progress with the SSDs thus far. So you would sit there and sit on skill points. But by the way, there's also a level cap, so you have to be super smart, and you can only go down certain trees. Now all this has changed now, but this is it at launch. It was a mobile game through and through. And it made me really disappointed, frustrated to see that AAA games that you pay a premium on had been infected with that bullshit that mobile games have been doing for too long, because people just don't know any better. And so it ruined a lot of these publishers because they realized they could get away with it, that the average consumer suddenly playing games they weren't savvy to the tricks. The people who had lived through the gaming crash were savvy to the tricks. That's why Nintendo had that gold standard. You knew you were getting a good game. Because the markets didn't have set prices. Games tended to be shovelware, and there was too much shovelware. So Nintendo said, you know, here's a guarantee. And that worked. But now you're dealing with 150 million gamers on their phone every day. And they never lived through that. They don't understand it. They don't game on a PC or a console. So they've got no expectations. They've got no minimum standard for what a game has to meet. All they know is that on Candy Crush, which is effectively fucking Bejeweled, you know, except that you only get so many fucking turns in a day, and so you have to pay for them, so it's absolute horse manure. It should be a demo, and then you pay $5, and you can play Candy Crush for life. So you get stories of people paying like $10,000, like $10,000 to continue to play Candy Crush, which was just Bejeweled. They could have paid $3 and had it on their PC. Nope. Now, if you tell me that didn't have an effect on the industry, you're ignoring the facts of the case. You don't get a Battlefront 2. You don't get a Destiny. You don't get an Anthem. If that hadn't become something that the publishers saw, they saw, well, there's this shitty little game and it's making millions. Why the hell are our AAA games not making this kind of money? That are 10 times the quality. Which is a shitty thing they had to face. But they went about it the wrong way. They said, let's just do the mobile game thing. That's why I'm not against live service. We do pay way too little for games in the long run. You end up getting so much, like a game like Borderlands. You know, the fact that, again, I could put this in my 360 and continue to do exactly what I'm doing here. There's very little difference in the games, except for better graphical fidelity. You know, it says something. 10 years ago, I paid $60, and I could still put 1,000 hours into it. A publisher has to say, we got to stop doing this. They give them, like, all this content, and they only pay this little price for it. That's why I'm fine with live service. But the way they've gone about live service is not good. The game shouldn't have fundamentally changed. The ability for publishers and developers to continue to make money on the games, that's fine. But in order for them to continue to make money on the games, what they've done is implemented systems that try to make you or habitualize you to log in every day. I mean, Destiny literally hired a behavioral psychologist who was an expert in gambling addiction to design Destiny systems to make it so that you felt that urge, that you know, nothing's stronger than habits. Henry James says habits are all your life. So you would get this fucking habitual urge to log in every day and check out the store, you know? In Morrowind, you could skip the whole main to go to Alderaan Fighters Guild to get the highest tier light armor set and kill anybody. Yeah, well, Morrowind was amazing. Morrowind is the essence of freedom in a video game, and it's very sad to see where Bethesda has gone since that high water mark. Or buy your way. Well, yeah, pay to win is the ultimate crime, and certainly Fortnite had pay to win when it first came out. Now, Destiny didn't have pay to win. To its credit, it didn't have pay to win. But it was the first instance of a console game using mobile game design mechanics to entice and hook a player in order to keep spending money on it. Now, the way that they avoided it, because at first they didn't even have a microtransaction store, is they did extremely overpriced DLCs. They called them expansions. Well, if you guys play on PC, you know that an expansion is a significant update. That's what we're used to anyways, is that if that was actually an AR variety, so that'd be a max roll. Oh well. You know, if you get on WoW and you buy a fucking expansion on WoW, you were getting a massive update to the game. Level cap, the whole 9 yards. Same thing expanded in this game. And you got a DLC. You guys have seen the DLCs. And these were like $5 DLCs. Same thing with Battleborn. $5 operations, which offer tons of content and replayability for their price point. These are really fairly priced. You get new story content, which was canon. You got level cap increase, and you got some new gear. Well, Destiny, it was 40 bucks for the expansion pass, 20 bucks per DLC, and you got none of that. You got, I think they upped the light level in House of Wolves. House of Wolves was better than the Dark Below. The Dark Below, you got a raid that was effectively a strike, but at least back then they made new raids. Now they do raid-like activities, which means they just added a new section to the same old raid. It kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's like, you're one of the biggest companies in the world. You have the second, I think, second or third biggest publisher in the world behind you. You have thousands of people employed at your peak. I'm guessing it's less now. And this is your fucking $40 DLC. A raid activity in a circle area. But to quote Bungie, making content is too hard. $9 for you on Borderlands 1 as a used copy, or what, King? Or way back in the day when you bought it. I don't know why we rant and rave about Destiny every day. I guess it's like, it's just every time I play this game, I'm reminded of what I used to expect in a video game. And how, when we played this, there wasn't, you know, it was amazing when I first played it back in the day. I've actually got my old review back on the YouTube channel. But at the same time, it wasn't anything we weren't used to. Like, when you found a chest in Borderlands, you didn't think, well, I wonder how they're going to cap that. I wonder if they'll actually let you have the loot. I wonder if, when am I going to have to pay more money, or how many chests am I limited to a day? How much XP am I limited to a day? Do I have to be on a server? You didn't think about any of that back in 2009. You just went and you bought it, and you expected, oh yeah, I'll be able to level up, I'll be able to get powerful, all the guns are mine, all the shit is mine, because that's exactly how games played. It's how Morrowind played, it's how, you know, even Halo to a degree. Granted, it's just a campaign game, but it's like, you got your split screen, you got your multiplayer, you can play through the campaign as many times as you want, however you want, over and over again, experience it however the hell you want to experience it. You've bought it. You've got a physical copy, you own the sucker. Do it. And of course, the original Xbox was so moddable. It's such a great system. Now you don't have that. We've regressed in that way, and people say, oh, that's, you know, these people, they bitch that we're not like hipsters or some shit because we say that games were met a higher standard back then. Well, they did. At least from a consumer perspective, they met a higher standard. You had a minimum product you expected when you went to the store and you bought the game for 60 bucks. You said, this is mine. This is mine now. Everything I experience in this game is mine. It's not going to be dictated by a server or by these gambling mechanics. Oh, you're just complaining. You're just complaining. Every time people say that, you're weakening our position in this fight. If you want to continue to own your software and own your game, because it's a game. It's not a fucking tax service. It isn't, you know, your health insurance. It isn't Microsoft Word or some shit. It's a video game. It's totally optional in your life. It's a hobby. It's a form of entertainment. When I buy my... That's why DVDs are actually a great value. People sleep on DVDs, dude. People sleep on DVDs and Blu-rays. But if you and just rely on Netflix, the same exact thing is happening in movies. We've stopped owning films, but owning a DVD is a super good value. If you got a movie like I love Dawn of the Dead, I love Night, Dawn, and Day, I love Land, Romero's one of my favorite, you know, people. I watch those movies over and over again. I've probably watched Night of the Living Dead 500 plus times in my life. I'm not exaggerating. I used to watch that movie over and over and over again. Man, this whole thing sucks. This whole area, I'm still trying to figure it out. If I had Netflix and it was only, of course, Night of the Living Dead doesn't have a copyright, so you can watch it however the hell you want. But say Dawn of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead, which is owned by Rosenstein or somebody like that. So it hasn't actually been released on, what up, Fuzzy? Thanks for being here. DVD yet, lately. Not Blu-ray, anyway. I am one of the people who has a DVD. I could sell that DVD for like 150 bucks on eBay right now, because they haven't done a re-release. I think they're about to, but they hadn't for a while. I'm not going to find that anywhere else. You know, and paying my, now it's 12 bucks a month for Netflix isn't going to get it either. Imagine if movies, I think I talked about this in one of our capstone videos. Maybe I cut it, I can't remember. But imagine if movies added a required internet connection to your Blu-ray player. Imagine that. Imagine that they required an internet connection to your Blu-ray player. They ran you know, digital rights management code on it every time, and you only got so many plays on a DVD before the disc just went bad. Or you could only watch it twice in a week to limit the amount of times you'd play it so that you'd have to buy another DVD. People would fucking go nuts for good reason, and it would be, to me, I would assume, the end of the DVD home video business as we know it, which has been super lucrative. Well, video games are effectively doing the same thing. It's just much more subtle. And there's been mixed reception to that whole element. You're either lost in nostalgia because you think that older games were more complete, or you're just not willing to move with the times. And I think the large question, to summarize here real quick, I'm going in a circle, I know, I'm trying to figure this shit out. I have a terrible sense of direction, alright? Those that have been with us for a while, you already know this. How do we deal with live service? Because live service makes sense from a software perspective. Making constant sequels doesn't make a ton of sense when you're developing computer software. Iterations, new builds, they make sense. And at the same time, own, in some capacity, our software, or at least not have all these tricks. At least be able to plug in your system offline, years later, decades down the line, and still know that all your characters and all your equipment, everything you put your time into is still there. Because, in conclusion, okay, I'm done here. I'm done with this one, I think. Well, we'll go right back to it in about an hour, won't we? In fact, I'm just going to recheck, because we'll certainly go back to it in an hour. Welcome back, Zed. Thanks for being here. No, that's the DLC for the game was free. Halo's dope. Bitch SMG is a pearl in Borderlands 1. It's a pearl in Borderlands 1? I saw it as a legendary. What I missed? You haven't missed too much, Fuzzy. We went over the Borderlands 3 gameplay review and trailer. We'll have a video out on that tonight. Thanks for being here, Fuzzy. Appreciate it, buddy. We're just working on the Hunter doing the DLC now. Welcome back, Zed. I lost my train of thought on the conclusion, so I'm just gonna stand here and die now. I'm trying to catch the argument you were putting down, Mal. Well, I appreciate it. This will be YouTube. We do these episodes on YouTube, so this whole fucking rant rave I'm having will be on there. I talk about this pretty damn often, though, honestly. That's one of my big things. Is I don't like DRM. I understand DRM because piracy is an issue, and people need paid for their work. But I don't like it from the aspect of those that rightfully pay for their game, now effectively lease games. So Destiny, I remember now, you ever actually helped me, Mal. One of my biggest, largest beefs with Destiny, beyond the caps, the weekly caps, the daily caps, the player limit caps, the behavioral psychologist design driving you to log in every day, the microtransactions that never resulted in free DLC, and we can go on. And by the way, 76 is just as guilty as every sin here, pretty much. Is that your character's on a server. And so some of you put a hell of a lot of time in Destiny. But dedicated to it. I know a guy named Werewolf comes in here. Why I think it's Wyvern Gaming now. He's hella dedicated to Destiny. And it frustrates me to no end that unlike Borderlands 1, we put it in the 360 and it's offline and now all the characters are there and all your shit's there and you can even transfer it now to the modern day over here to the cloud. Big Sig, you funded the war against the pink. 10 bits. Thank you very much for that, Sig. It's much appreciated, buddy. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. Not sure why your shout out. There we go. Yo! Hey! Watch out. Here we go. Big Sig. Triple Sig! Sig! Welcome to the stream. Sig's got a great tenor to his voice. He's got a ride or die community. Go to him for real talk. He's a veteran. He's been on here 4 or 5 years. Hear him talk. Hear him perform. The man is an entertainer. Check him out, he's fantastic. Alright, I liked what I do. That Borderlands 3 reveal was dope, wasn't it? Looks fucking great, doesn't it? It's gonna serve us for years to come. I've got basically no worries about Borderlands 3 except the unknown. It's gonna be great. He leases those characters, okay? He can't someday Put his fucking, say his 360, because Destiny 1 came out on 360. Just shove it on, put in the Destiny vanilla disc, which still exists in GameStops. You know, somewhere in the rubbish pile. The first thing that's going to happen is he's going to have to install the motherfucking game for about 3 hours. Now, if you put in Skyrim or Borderlands into your 360 disc tray all these years later, you're just going to play the game. So it's going to spend about 5 hours installing. God knows what's on there, what it's looking at, what it's doing. And then it's going to notice that... No, he's offline. So I guess it's installing from the disc. Which, so he's already done. He can't play this motherfucker. Say he does get online, though. He's going to notice that the community's dried up for the events that he needs to get the last achievements of the last Grimoire. And here's the biggest thing, okay? The biggest thing. Really just to summarize. Someday those servers are going to go offline. Someday they're going to pull the plug even more than what they already have pulled on Destiny 1. And those characters that so many of you spent so much time on, so much effort on, will not be reassuringly saved on your memory card or on your Xbox hard drive or your PlayStation drive or whatever. They will be gone. They will be lost to the void, the digital graveyard. They will never come back ever again. You never owned the character. In that way, you never ever owned your experience. It's a multitude of ways you never own your experience in games like that. But that's the biggest one, is that they can dictate when your effort in that game ceases to exist. Your scores are erased, your character is erased, your loot is gone. Now that's been going on for a minute, but I think Destiny's the biggest sinner because it's an RPG game, so you get really invested. Because you could say EA games have been doing this for a minute. You know, like you're not able to go back and play retro Battlefields. Bad Company 2, I played the hell out of that. I can't go back and look at my stats because it's gone. It's all fucking gone. You can't play it anymore. There's no online server for it. So it will happen with Destiny. But in that case, it's a multiplayer game, and I guess it is what it is. It still sucks. I still don't like it as a practice. But I think it's at its worst because it's like, imagine if Skyrim or Oblivion or Morrowind did that. Imagine that these characters you spend 1,500 hours on, you get really involved with and everything else. Like... Once Morrowind gets so old, that character's just fucking gone. Well, I don't think that's right. That character was a part of your life on this earth. Your life is measured in time, right? You only get so much of it. And we put some of our life force, as in time, into these games. This is our hobby. And the idea that we don't get to own those experiences when we spend our time and our money on them, but especially our time, to me, is egregious. It's egregious. It's a sin. It's a sin. Yeah, you'll die and you won't ever play that character again, but it was still a part of your life. And you still should own that character. It shouldn't be up to fucking Activision Blizzard when they get to delete your goddamn character. And that's what people let them do on Destiny. Which is why I'm a big Gearbox fan, because they don't do that stuff. They have yet to do that shit to us. Now, it might happen in Battleborn eventually. But again, Battlefield or Battleborn, that are multiplayer games, I kind of get it. But single-player games, RPG games... Yeah, Borderlands 3 looks fantastic, doesn't it, Sig? Looks great, man. Are you going to be getting it? How good have the pre-orders been for it in GameStop? My hope for Borderlands 3 is a large amount of viability vary between builds and guns. Feels like Shanfleet... There will be. There will be. I mean, just with having 3 different action skills per class alone, Zed is going to... You know, really change it up. And they released a new trailer today, and there was like dozens. I didn't see one repeat enemy. There's so much variety in the enemies now. I think there's this surge here soon to have the right to community-owned servers after those official servers go down. I agree with that. Yeah, well, Mao, I think you're right, and I think you're kind of ahead of me on this in this way, because this is sort of an argument that it's a little more nuanced, I guess. I think that live service is good, and I think it makes sense from both a design and economic standpoint, okay? I was not someone who sided with the vanilla WoW servers, which may seem hypocritical because I'm, you know, anti-DRM and I'm talking about how people should own the experience. I wanted to work in games. I think that a game developer is an artist and that it's a craft. And it takes both a logical mind and a creative mind to do it right. And there's actually not many people who can really properly do game development. And this has always been something that's kind of been, you know, ignored from the very beginning, is that in a great book called Riding the Beam that talks about early game development on the Atari, just how little understood the idea of a game developer is. But it's also ancient. You know, Nintendo's existed since the 1800s. Chess is a game. Checkers is a game. Baseball is a game. So in saying that, what I'm saying is that I think that a developer has a right to dictate how a game is played. In that capacity. The design of it, the flow of it. Like an umpire has a right to call a ball or a strike. Or the commissioner has the right in the NBA or the NFL to say these are the rules. That's what the developer's there for. They're to say these are the rules. Now you still get to play the game. The game has to have rules, but the game shouldn't have limits, because there's a difference between 3 strikes and you're out and 3 outs is, you know, half an inning, and we can only do 15 pitches per inning, and then we gotta call it because you're at your daily limit of pitches. Now that's horseshit. That's different than a rule. That's just a cap. But where I say you're ahead of it is, you know, because that's where the argument now gets more nuanced, is like the vanilla WoW servers. PC was ahead of console, of course, on this, like they tend to be, and that was a huge debate a few years ago. And, you know, the sad thing of that is I don't think it really got resolved, because what happens is that basically the conclusion of that whole thing is you don't want to play WoW servers because they're not as well designed, was the first thing. Of course, nobody liked them saying that. And so the real conclusion to the debate is, oh, you can play the vanilla WoW servers as long as it's on our terms and you're giving us money. That's a mixed thing. They own the intellectual property. It makes sense. They should want to profit. But I don't think the original WoW servers were for profit. It was just costing them money. So gamers are saying, we want to dictate how we play, and that's what it really means to own a game. I'm saying that I think that there has to be no piracy, and a developer should be in charge of how a game is played, but it should be up to the player how they engage those rules. How much time they spend on it. And I don't think that any game should require an internet connection unless it's an MMO. Fuzzy, what I like about Borderlands offline or online, I agree with you there, Fuzzy. Yeah, right. Not many games do that anymore. That's what's so weird, is it's become so rare. That pretty well so far, honestly, talking to people about how I can see how genuinely excited people are for it. Yeah, dude, it's gonna be really good. Still gotta go back and watch all the missed, but you had me 3 action skills per class. You have 3 action skills per class. Like I said, I'll be making a video because we'll be like answering that same question so much. Being a melee, dude, that melee siren looks really unique and dope for sure. It looks powerful too, man. I love the physics. I love the new physics. Like when you slide into an enemy and knocks him back, and punch barrels. That there's breeze going through the flora. There's just so much level of detail in the animations now. They're not just like a set thing, you know, fall up. It's like, how do they fall? What kind of terrain did they fall on? What knocked them down? And then that decides like how they're gonna move around and shit. So it's great. But outside of WoW, after a game is shut down, I believe we should have the right to our characters to a private community and server. That, Mal, of course, I agree with that. Of course, I agree with that. Yeah. I think the only challenge of that is it, you know, we go back to 360, okay? There are almost every game on the original 360, for whatever reason, released with a multiplayer component. Because, you know, that used to be, like, kind of required. You weren't going to buy a $60 game because they didn't lean on patches like they do now, and not say there's got to be a full story mode. Even Battlefield, you know, you always had a full story mode, full campaign, some other mode, a horde mode, or like a test your skill mode, training mode, something dumb like that, some third mode. Red Faction 2, it was literally train your AI up. Kind of cool. And then a multiplayer mode. That was considered a full product, full AAA product for like 20 years. That being the 90s and the early 2000s. And there's a good reason why it changed, because not every game should have multiplayer. And tons of servers died. Turok, when they rebooted Turok, it had really cool multiplayer. Prey had really cool multiplayer, the original Prey. And the servers were dead. They're empty, because you had, like, you know, really Halo and COD were the two games and Gears that managed good lobbies, good healthy lobbies. You could get a match. And that left this massive graveyard of dead multiplayer games. And so does that further divide multiplayer communities, especially in the age of Fortnite and Apex Legends? These big free-to-play battle royale games that attract tens of millions of people. And a game that I loved called Battleborn, we streamed it a ton. It died. And you know, one of the reasons it died is because of games like Fortnite. But hey, it could be like human beings. Like, there's this neuroscientist. She was like, she said her biggest fear is that people would quit dying. And I've heard it debated, and I can see the logic to the argument that maybe games should die too. Maybe that's the giant flaw of live services. As much as it makes sense, games are not meant to be, digital games anyways, are not meant to be fucking forever. Then again, chess is forever. Baseball is hundreds of years old now. As we said, there's plenty of nuance in this debate and where video games are going to fall into it. You pay for a good, you do. And as I say, in the case of single-player games, you should have that for life. In the case of multiplayer games, you don't pay for the service. So you don't pay for, you know, the ability to network with other people and have their netcodes, or especially if it's server-side, you don't pay for those servers. And that is the difficulty there. And that's why, like, as much as I hate that my Battlefield 2 stats are dead, EA owns the servers. I never paid them a dime to play on their servers. So they kind of got me there. But I'm definitely not against, you know, the homebrew shit. That's in a weird place because, like, developers seem to support it, and even the companies themselves know they can't just attack it. I think it should exist as a gray area. They just shouldn't fuck with it. If they monetize it, though, they should take it down, because then you're just making money off somebody. That's like me releasing Harry Potter and saying I wrote it. Played Battlefield 2 religiously. It was such a great shooter. It was such a fantastic game. Yeah, like, and you know, why I hate losing my stats, even though I get it, is like dog tags. I had hundreds and hundreds of dog tags. I got such a thrill out of sneaking around and stabbing somebody in the back and getting their tags. You know, it sucks when you're kind of addicted to a game and you put that kind of time and effort into it and you see it all evaporate. That's definitely, like, and again, coming from Morrowind, that was so foreign to me. Oh, it's gone. We're going to Destiny. Oh, I can have 3 characters. Destiny has, like, super intense math behind it, though. Like, there's a reason they've designed it the way they have, because it's put together in this super in-depth calculus. But the problem with the calculus is it's coming from a malicious source. The idea behind the calculus is that you only ever make so much progress, you only ever get so far. We only have so much content, but we can make it stretch as far as possible by manipulating the way that you go about accessing that content. In order to do that, they got to do some super cool, elaborate things, like limiting you to 3 characters. There was that one guy way back on Destiny 1 that cheesed the system, even though it took him like 500 hours to get max light. Oh, it's right here. I'm so... Fuck. Rip. That gets a fail horn. You know, he like got sick, he broke his leg or whatever. So he kept bringing the character up to 30 light and then deleting it so that he could technically keep farming just a little bit higher on the light cap. But of course, in order to do that, you have to do absolutely, again, bang your head against the wall kind of shit. Top 2 sniper leaderboards for... Is that right? Holy shit, you were insanely up there then. Good God, you played the fuck out of it. The Anthem AI thing. What's going on with the Anthem AI thing? I mean, it's starting to look like Anthem might be in some serious trouble, dude. As far as that's concerned. Aim for the face. Level scaling for loot enemies. I agree, Fuzzy. That's fucking fantastic, and it's even more fantastic that if you don't like that system, you can turn it off with a switch. And again, imagine Destiny ever doing that for you. Oh, you don't really like how this system scales? Here, you can just turn it off. No. They're the boss, and it only works one way. Which is to say, I mean, people are going to be like, well, you talked about 3 strikes isn't out. In golf, I can choose a handicap. If I'm in Major League Baseball, yeah, there's certain rules, but if I'm on the fucking playground playing some pickup baseball, we can define the rules. So if I'm offline playing split screen with my with the pals, with the fellas, the pallies, smelling our guns, we should be able to do whatever the hell we want. We pay the money. Did you see the GAS fraud video? No, what's that all about now? What's going on with that? Again, I'm so excited that they're coming to Guardian Con to call them out on that shit. I think Tyrell messaged me. Alright guys, since Tyrell messaged me, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna do this quest. I'm gonna throw down some grub, eat some dinner, and I'm gonna play some Apex today. I know we're kind of on a tight schedule, but I just feel like killing some people. And sometimes you gotta do what the heart desires, alright? Sometimes I want to slay out, frag the shit out of some people. Kinda like Mao, alright? Kinda like Mao. Mao was number 2 in the world on the Battlefield 2 sniping. He knows what it feels like sometimes when you just want to fucking kill some people. And I don't mean in goddamn real life. I actually am a fan of human beings. I don't know why fucking millennials aren't a fan of human beings. Yes, there's shithead human beings, but 99.9% of human beings are good. Their intentions are good. I mean, goddamn, people have souls. I don't believe in hating people like that, but... What am I even talking about? The point is I'm not gonna kill real people, okay? I want to kill video game people. Dude, there's so much loot in these lockers. See, that's right, Tyrell. Hey, Mal, can you do me a favor? And post that in our Discord, please? We'll check it out from there, so everyone in the stream can check it out. By the way, while we're on the subject, if you guys are willing to do the stream a small favor, and you want to get yourself some Borderlands 3 golden keys and some Borderlands 3 gun skins, don't be afraid to click our referral link and give us some points. We want to make a video on it if possible, so we're trying to grow those points. Get yourself some goodies for Borderlands 3. Oh, shit, I need to sell my stuff anyway. What am I doing? Tomorrow we should be able to do another good long stream though, so just to change the pace up, we'll definitely tomorrow go hard on some Borderlands and try to get some hella good progress in. could be good. You know what? I'll experiment. Why not? Alright, on the road again. Nice to see how they brought new ideas to the game. Yeah, I agree. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. It's still a Borderlands game, which, of course, is what we want. At the same time, it's just so much more. So much more. Which is all I was really hoping for. Is like, they just need to do Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel and stuff. And just evolve it again. Just truly a sequel. Evolve it. That's what I saw today. It's just the amount of content and depth, and complexity and customization in the loot system, let alone the leveling system, let alone we don't even know anything about this Guardian rank, the new badass rank. That they have a team dedicated within Gearbox just to boss battles at each vault, which makes me think it's going to have a much deeper endgame from moment one. Because personally, I saw what I needed to see today. That's how I feel about it. I saw what I really feel like I needed to see to be really confident that this wasn't, oh fuck, we didn't make any money off Battleborn. We need to get a game out right now. 2K says right now or else, and we're rushed to do this. They did bring a new level to everything in Borderlands 3. Yeah, totally. I mean, just like the idea that Sanctuary 3 is a ship and it's a social hub and it changes. Like that you get to put the enemies that you kill become trophies, taxidermy trophies on the wall of Hammerlock's apartment, and that everyone's in that ship, and that ship is your hub. It's just, it not only brings it up to another level, but it refines it down to its core elements. Multiple planets, multiple vaults. As I say, barring nuclear war or an extreme uptick in global warming, it looks to be a game that's going to service people for years. Game of the year, maybe. Maybe. I know we're 4 months out, and that's awful hype. That's a lot of hype. But, I mean, the fact that the fucking trailer is in 10 times the state that Anthem's currently in, pretty fucking good, man. It looks good. You know? Thank you, Mal. Appreciate it, man. Post that AI thing. Also, check that out when you can. I'm not saying I believe it, but it's an interesting read. Would you put it under gaming? Games as a service is a fraud. Oh, yeah. Okay, I've been seeing this thumbnail on my YouTube feed. Is a fraud. Is fraud. That's kind of how we're arguing it, so it doesn't... In the game psychology. I mean, that's the big change, again, is the idea that a developer is a logical person and a creative person. And in writing the Beam, they talk about, like, the game companies didn't realize it, but the guy who made Pitfall and his fellow developers were part of this new class of unique people. They're not really new, but misunderstood, I'd say. And it continues, where instead of hiring a proper game designer like Borderlands has done, and others, hire a fucking behavioral psychologist who's an expert in gambling to get you to log in every day. I was a victim of it. I played Destiny like 12 hours a day. Daily at one point. If you don't believe me, there's a Destiny stat tracking site that like looked at your daily logins. I wanted to do it. I wasn't, I mean, maybe I was hooked. But especially Taken King, I actually thought was great. And I was hyper dedicated to Destiny at that point. I was working. I was a manager at that point. Pulling over 40 hours a week and still putting in that kind of time into Destiny. I would find a way to fit in the time to hit goals. 2 Rumble wins. Aim practice. Raid, strikes, farm. I have Tuesdays off, and I had Saturdays off. Of course, it's a restaurant, so you still get called. Well, it's a pizza shop, so you still get called in all the time. But those days, like, wake up bright and early. We're gonna have a full day. It worked on me. It worked on me. It didn't make me happy, though. It made me happy that I was able to, like, see through the shit, eventually quit. I was always bothered by the model.
Welcome back. On to phase.
So I don't look at that time period with any, like, bad feelings, actually, because my life didn't collapse. I think I learned the necessary skills to be a streamer. I knew that I could actually sit down and play games for extended periods of time like that. And I learned how to use the No Land Beyond. I actually read a lot of books too around that time. A lot of war strategy. There was a subreddit dedicated to Destiny PvP. And I forget what we called it, what they called it. It probably still exists. But it was a super in-depth subreddit where we would go into, like, frames. We'd go into every gun. Every Tuesday when the weaponsmith would have his experimental guns, we'd all be there checking out perks, shooting them, talking about numbers. And, like, one guy went and read The Art of War. You know, it's super short, so it's not a hard read, but it, like, analyzed it in terms of Destiny. I was like, this is really cool, actually. So I took it on, I did the same thing, and then I read the Book of Five Rings, and then I read, like, sports psychology books. I think it was called Mind Gym. Yeah, Mind Gym. And that's kind of when I started to break off of Destiny, but I think that I actually benefited from my time. What the fuck? And because of that, I started to, like, become a lot more analytical about my play. Literally would take notes, dude. After every match, I can show you the notes. I still have them. After every match, 2 pros and a con, 2 pros and a con, or 2 cons and a pro, and sit there and nitpick my gameplay and try to get better and better. I guess I got obsessed. Which is why it was all the more frustrating. I'm gonna go eat some dinner. Did that also. I do that. You do that with Rocket League? Holy shit. They always bring the first part out before any